We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you love everything in college football, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this college football rebel outpost, the home for the college football sickos. With a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $ where you make your comment, and I'll get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome in everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. It is a college football peek around the corner breakfast edition. As we often have said in the past, you got to subscribe to the channel. You got to have those notifications turned on. You got to follow us at Flug Empire on X, because we can come on live at any time. Morning, afternoon, in the evening, late evening. Sometimes we do a double header. There's been a couple of times we've done a triple header. You've always got to keep your head on a swivel if you want to be a part of the PATC family. So we are doing a breakfast show. I had a lot of discussions last night from a lot of people. And basically, I want to talk about it this morning. Once again, we are going to go through a Pat 4-day article that he wrote. Let me show you the title of it. Big Ten's latest bad idea, selling its future for private capital. Talks about a $2 billion capital deal, having dragged for months and lacked unanimity, but Wednesday brought a new sign of progress. Another bad idea from the Big Ten. All right. Number one. I do not know. The PATC, Peek Around the Corner, have not offered their endorsement of this plan. Why is that? Because we don't have the details. And Pat Forte don't have the details either. But, you know, every week he's got to write this type of article about the Big Ten. I think it's in his contract. That's how bad it's gotten. I don't know the details of this. None of us know the real details of this. I was poking and prodding last night. Got a little bit more information. And I'm going to spill it here on the show. But again, once again, hypocrisy is running wild through the college football landscape. I said it last night. I said it on the live show. I said it on my X account. I'll say it again this morning. For me, personally, for me, as a fan, supporter of the University of Minnesota, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, I don't know if I support this or not. I do not know if I support it or not. This is my opinion only. If it's just a cash infusion, I'm out. I would say, nah, thanks but no thanks. We need the cash. But that one-time cash infusion for 20 years of this private capital firm having a piece, having a slice, having one of the 20 slices, I don't know. I would say no. But if this deal is more about than the one-time cash infusion, if this capital firm can show the ability to enlarge or increase current revenue streams, be able to bundle up all 18 schools and sell it as one when it comes to the jersey patch or the advertising on the football fields or signage inside the stadiums, or help with the media negotiations, have a connection with a big streaming company, have connections with international markets. I don't know, but there has to be something else of value that the private capital can give you other than a one-time cash infusion. If they can show the Big Ten schools and the conference that they can provide this, then I would sign on the dotted line. And we don't have all the information. We have a little bit of the information from the reporting of ESPN and Ross Dellinger. But according to the information that we received, all of us last night, it seems to me that this private capital firm would be heavily incentivized to create a larger revenue streams, more revenue streams, because they're 1/20th of the pie. There may not be 1/20th of the pie, by the way. I keep saying that, but that might be incorrect. Now, I'm going to speculate. A lot of this is speculation, okay? A lot of this is speculation. But I'm going to give a little bit of information that I learned last night on this. What the Big Ten and how they're thinking of this. Okay? But, we don't know, so it was reported it'd be 20 slices, right? 18 Big Ten schools with a slice, the Big Ten Conference with a slice, and this private capital firm with a slice. That's 20 slices. Currently, the Big Ten network, the Big Ten Tier 1 money, gets sliced up into 19 slices. The Big Ten Conference gets what everybody else gets. The Big Ten network. It's exactly how it's set up. So basically, you are adding a school, right? It's like you're adding a slice. You're expanding by one school, but it's not a school. It's a private capital firm. And they're paying their way in by giving out $100 million each, or at least $100 million. So basically, to try to simplify it, is this private capital firm is coming on in and saying, we'll give everybody $5 million a year, although I think it's all going to come up at once. But just to try to simplify it, this private capital firm is like a new school coming on in, and it's saying, we can increase everybody's bottom line by $5 million a year for the next 20 years. That's the value that we're bringing. But like I say, for me to agree with this type of deal, for me to endorse it, they got to bring more. They got to bring more than that. They got to be able to give larger revenue streams, sponsorship deals, media, streaming connection, whatever it is. They got to bring more than just the upfront cash. Now, so we go to the 20 slices part, right? But it ain't going to be 20 equal slices. Now, a lot of people are having trouble with this morning. Well over the last year, we had Peek Around the Corner. We have been telling everybody, we've been reporting it to you all, that has been heavily socialized within the Big Ten Conference, that this different tier payments was a coming. Most likely, it was a coming. And the Michigan-Ohio State slice is not going to be 5%. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know the proposal. I don't know if the Buckeyes are going to get 5. I don't know if their slice is 5.5%, 5.25%, 5.75%, 6%. But the Buckeyes and the Wolverines slice is going to be larger than the other slices, right? Maybe USC and Oregon and Penn State is in the next batch of slices, and then you've got the others. So there might be some schools that are 4.5% slice, 4.75% slice. I do not know. But that is how I'm speculating after talking with people how it's going to look. And this private capital firm, when they say they got one slice of the 20 slices, that slice might not be at 5%. Maybe it's at 6%. But it ain't at 15 or 20%. In other words, this is not a private equity deal in which the private equity company is expecting 15 to 20% return on their investment yearly. That's not what this is about. This is about somebody, three different private capital firms trying to get in, trying to give everybody a big boat of money to get in there because they think that the Big Ten is a growing stock, right? They think the Big Ten is going to be a lot bigger, profitable 10, 20 years from now. By the way, it's the same thing that the Southeastern Conference thinks about itself. It's the same way that the Big 12 thinks about itself. You remember the Big 12? Brett Yormark trying to get a conference level private capital deal? You remember that? Do you remember how I described it as? I said that Brett Yormark is looking for the future. That Brett Yormark was being innovative. Remember? I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know if it was going to pass. They got to get everybody on board. We were told all these schools had a certain benchmark that need to be fulfilled for all of them to vote on it, just like what's going on in the Big Ten. Did Brett Yormark get slandered out there by the press? Did Brett Yormark get knifed by Big 12 YouTube channels, ACC YouTube channels, Big 10 YouTube channels? I didn't hear it. I didn't do it. Because why? Because Yormark has big plans. And you know what those plans are? We showed one of them. We showed one of them last night. Big 12 going international. The Big 10 wants a strategic partner. Brett Yormark wants a strategic partner. So does the Big 10. So does the Big 10. So does the Southeastern Conference. But for whatever reason, the college football reporters out there, like 95% of them, well, they only seem to be able to take shots at the old Big Ten. And I called this out about 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago. And every example ever since had been right on that line. And why is that? I don't know, but that's not what this live show is going to be about. Everybody's looking at this, guys. Look, let me put it to you this way. Do you remember when the Super League idea came out? Project Rudy. Do you remember how that was constructed? Billions of dollars were going to come in, right? Billions of dollars were going to come in from a private capital, private equity firm. And we were going to have these different tiers of payments. Remember? There was going to be about 8 programs that were going to be at the permanent highest level of payouts. Notre Dame was in one of those 8 schools. Something like that, right? We were going to be paid different tiers. The money was going to come in. There was going to be 70 schools all in different divisions. And Big Ten people and the Southeastern Conference people, as it was reported, said, well, why would we do that? If we're going to do something like that, we're going to do it on our own. That's what this is. That's what this is all about. The Big Ten is attempting, it may not succeed. They may not get the votes. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But the Big Ten is attempting to build their Super League using the Super League concept and ideas. That's what they're doing. And I said at the time, I said, why would Michigan and Ohio State do this for 70 schools? Why would Georgia and Alabama, why would they take all the risks and not get as much benefit as the other 64, 60 schools? Because if you're going to do this, if this billions of dollars is going to come in and a private equity firm is going to come in and supply all that money, it is the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, the Crimson Tide, the Bulldogs. Their value all of us are going to be leaning on their value. And by the way, when we talked about the 70-team Super League with the Rudy Project, nobody really worried about how the private equity firm was going to get paid back. They just loved the concept of it. Right? Everywhere. Well, this channel did not like it, but most channels, most college football reporters, oh, this has got to happen. This is going to happen. This is the future. This is going to save college sports. And I said it at the time, and I've been saying it for a long time. That is up to Michigan and Ohio State. Right now, the Big Ten, it sounds like most of the schools are in favor of this for lots of different reasons. We're going to get into that. But this is up to Michigan and Ohio State. It always has been up to Michigan and Ohio State. You know, I've been a lot of questions over the last 4 years since we opened up this YouTube channel. Great. Don't you know that the Big Ten could split apart? Great. Don't you know that the top of the Big Ten could go with the top of the Southeastern Conference? Great. Aren't you worried? And I said, no, because that is up to Ohio State and Michigan. They can do what Texas and Oklahoma did. They can do what USC did. It's up to them. It's always been up to them. The creation of a 70-team Super League, it's always been up to them. This private capital deal coming on into the Big Ten, it's up to them. It truly is. Now, in the reports, it says that most of the Big Ten schools are for this deal. They want it. They're pushing for it. They need the cash infusion. They want a strategic partner. I think that's a big part of this, although we did not get the details on that. They also want to be able to say the grant of rights is now into 2046. In the Big Ten, as I've often described it in the past, the grant of rights is on a different timetable than the media rights agreement. Those are two separate documents. Currently, the current media rights go to 2030. The current grant of rights goes to 2036. This deal, if it happened, would extend the grant of rights to 2046. That would give the private capital firm 20 years to get their money back. 20 years to get that $2 billion money back and more to be worth the investment. But the media rights agreement, again, there's going to be a new media negotiations starting in 2029, possibly late 2028, for the new media rights to happen in 2031. Last night, I was told that the Big Ten, this is basically their attempt. They don't know if they're going to be able to get it done. Even today, there might be breaking news today saying the Big Ten is shelving this idea, just like the Big 12 shelved it. But I was told last night that the Big 12 is always trying to reconstruct this type of deal. The ACC is currently trying to construct this type of deal. Once again, it ain't just the Big Ten. But it is the Big Ten that's going to get the arrows and the shots. Just like the college football playoff format. The Southeastern Conference wants a larger college football playoff format. But by God, no one's going to give them a shot because they're for that. It's only the Big Ten. We are going to go through Pat Forty's article. And I've got a lot to say about this article and how this article was written, constructed, and the message that he is trying to send. There has been a lot of criticism about the Big Ten having this idea. And again, I want to say, I don't know if I can endorse it. I don't know if I can, because I don't have the details. I tried to get as much details as I possibly could get last night. And we're going to go over that later on, what I've learned. But I don't know if I can endorse it, because it has to be more about than just the cash infusion. But every conference is looking at these type of deals. All of them. Even G6 conferences are looking at this type of deal. I await Pat Forty. I await everybody putting out their articles, ripping on these other conferences. We're not going to see them. We're not going to see them, though. Cody Campbell. Before we get into Pat Forty's article, I got a word about Cody Campbell. I got 11 DMs last night, from those trying to explain to me what Cody Campbell, what he knows, what he believes to know, what a genius he is. Everybody should listen to Cody Campbell. Number one, I have never ripped on Cody Campbell's attempt to have a voice. I've never ripped on Cody Campbell's support of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I have never ripped on his NIL money. Good for him. Good for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. He has every right to use his money, his clout, his power, whatever. I disagree with his idea of a government entity running college sports, and I've said so. Thank God that Ross Dellinger got Cody Campbell's details out in the public. But I want to say something here. Cody Campbell, you keep saying you want everybody to work with you. You want everybody to work together in solving the problems of college sports. But yet every time you talk, you do a character assassination attempt on the commissioners. You did it last night again. I don't know. You're a very bright individual. You're very successful, but your PR game sucks. I got to tell you guys, I'm going to be honest. Everybody that I talk to in the Big Ten, Cody Campbell has become the punchline. Not a point of even a conversation anymore. So Cody Campbell, whatever you are trying to accomplish, it is going backwards. Literally. You cannot rip on these people the way you can say it's a bad idea. But again, saying that the commissioners are only looking for their pockets, the money that's going in, you're basically, you have absolutely no clout. No voice in the Big Ten. No voice in the SEC. What I would advise Cody Campbell to do is help Brett Yormark. Support the Big 12. Try to get the best deal for the Big 12 and work in that circle. Because every time I am not going to show you the emails, I'm not going to show you my text messages, I'm not going to show you my DMs. But Cody Campbell, he's person non grata in Big Ten circles. So, every time that Cody Campbell rips on the Big Ten, and he's free to do so. He's absolutely free to. I just ripped on the Big Ten last week. And boy, did I hear from Big Ten people, from fans. Because I think they're going soft. because they're not requiring 10 P4 opponents. I got a voice. Cody Campbell got a voice. But Cody Campbell, you're not getting anywhere with the Big Ten. I would probably double down, refocus on the Big 12. If you want to share your money with the other Big 12 universities, go at it. If you want to do some private capital deal that helps the Big 12, I would do it. But the government entity-run college sports world that you're trying to create and trying to shame people into agreeing with, it ain't working. You have become a punchline in Big Ten country. I'm being honest here. I'm absolutely being honest. Okay. All right. Pat Forte. Again, I want to thank everybody. We're not going to do a roll call this morning. I thank everybody for joining us. It's a PATC breakfast show, Thursday, October 2nd. The Big Ten's latest bad idea, selling its future for private capital. Pat Forte. The Big Ten Conference already is clearly established the industry leader in bad ideas. It might have another one coming down the pike now in the form of a private capital arrangement. And by the way, before I go through this article, for the Big Ten people who are going to yell at me for saying, why are you talking about this article? Why are you doing this? Because I bring up articles. We talk about other people's ideas that don't align with PATC all the time. We do not get caught in our own information silo. All right? So please, Big Ten people, you're all going to be mad at me. Everyone's going to be mad at me today. That's what this show is all about. All right? A lot of people are going to agree with Pat Forte's article here. A lot of people in the chat room are going to agree with this. So this is for them to agree with. Anyways, back to the article. The nation's wealthiest athletic conference, which has been trying its hardest to junk up the college football playoff with one dubious and self-serving expansion concept after another, has a different get-rich-quick plan in the works. Again, Pat Forte will not take a shot at the Southeastern Conference bigger, larger college football playoff format ideas. He will not, along with a long line of college football reporters. It has become quite obvious and quite laughable, in my opinion. ESPN's reported Wednesday that the Big Ten is discussing a private capital deal that could add $2 billion or more to the leagues and its 18 member schools. Commissioner Tony Petitti has yet to find an element of college athletics that he wouldn't like to turn into a cash grab. It's almost like he believes that none of these other conferences are looking at every possibility to get more money, is spearheading discussions with 3 private capital firms. Among the intriguing elements to this potential deal, a proposed 10-year extension of the league's grant of rights agreements to 2046 in what ESPN termed a tiered distribution of the new revenue. Those two dynamics would seemingly work at cross purposes, binding the league together longer while further separating the top brands from the rest. While the grant of rights extension that far into the future might starve off creation of a long third-line Super League, it could still further reduce the number of schools capable of competing for national championships in the revenue sports. I have no idea what I have no idea what all that is about. Again, Pat Forte is a supporter of this Super League, right? Well, the concepts of the Super League is what is the Big Ten is using for this idea. It's unbelievable. It's like, oh, this is good if we use it for 70 schools, but if we use it for 18 schools, this is a horrible idea. Doesn't Pat Forday and other people, don't they have any self-awareness of the hypocrisy of it all? It is unbelievable, guys. Either you are against this, I mean, why are you for a Super League? That's bringing in capital money. That's bringing in different tier cash revenues. Wasn't Pat Forday paying attention to the Super League idea, the concepts? All right, calm down. Calm down, Greg. Calm down. The conference has been discussing various iterations of this plan for months. Multiple industry sources tell Sports Illustrated, with some saying they believe the concept was running out of steam as time dragged on. At the very least, right, there is no consensus. This ain't passing right now. The schools are having varying views of whether this is a prudent approach to additional revenue generation. This is going to be very difficult to pass. This is going to be very difficult to do. You've got 18 schools. Now, imagine trying to get 70 schools on board for a Super League. Different tiers among 70 schools. Trying to figure out who's going to play who's going to be in what division. So, but Pat Forday ain't going to write an article like that. Neither is anybody else. As ESPN noted, most of the conference is believed to support the idea, but that doesn't include the biggest dogs. Ohio State and Michigan are still talking through it with the conference, among others. At least one Michigan region publicly voiced his resistance on Wednesday. As a region, I believe selling off Michigan's precious public university assets would betray our responsibility to students and taxpayers, Jordan Acker posted on X. I will firmly oppose any such effort, and I hope colleagues at Michigan State and Ohio State will stand with me as well. Where Michigan ain't going to be selling off any of their public university assets. So the agent is not paying attention to the details that we do know. This could very well be where the tier distribution comes into play to get Michigan and Ohio State and perhaps others to play ball here. The Big Ten may cut the pie into unequal slices. The Wolverines and the Buckeyes would get more than, say, Rutgers and Maryland. Accommodations might have to be made. And now again, we've been talking about this for over a year. Every time, basically almost every time I do a live show, not every time, but 3 or 4 times a week, we got comments in the comment section. Greg, Michigan and Ohio State, they're going to want more money. Alabama and Georgia's going to want more money than Mississippi State. This could break apart the conference. So now, and we got people saying, there are some schools that are milkers and all this, and some schools suck the milk, and whatever college football mafia show talks about. Well, here it is. Schools are going to be getting paid different tier, and yet I got a feeling that the college football reporters are going to have problems with this. It's almost like if the Big Ten sneezes, a whole host of college football reporters go, oh my God, they sneezed. That's how bad it's getting. That's how bad it's getting out there, guys. Uneven revenue. Uneven revenue has never been good for the overall health of a conference. Texas advantageous media rights deals fractured the Big 12. The Florida State Clemson lawsuits against the ACC are leading to uneven payouts there. But perhaps it's inevitable. Oh, perhaps. As the concept of equal partnership among like-minded universities grow quaint and musty, is there really much like-minded about Stanford and Louisville and ACC or Nebraska and USC in the Big Ten? College sports is a leverage play now, as the professionalization of it takes hold. This is what you wanted, Pat Forday. This is what you wanted, Dennis Dodd. This is what you wanted, Jay Billis. This is what you all wanted. So then when the conferences are trying to construct it, you go off in this, oh my God, an infusion of private capital that could immediately put $100 million or more in the athletic coffers of each Big Ten school is an intoxicating idea. It's likely especially attractive to those members in the lower 2/3 of the league's food chain. Schools are paying $20.5 million this year in the House versus NCAA settlement costs to its athletes, while many of them are also dealing with huge debt servicing costs for an array of facilities improvements. And as we have peeked around the corner, as we have said over and over again, there's a lot of schools struggling out there, and it's not just in the Big 12 and the ACC. Not just those schools in the Big 10, schools in the Southeastern Conference. I talked about that over and over and over again. A lot of these Big 10 schools, they sponsor a whole lot of sports. All that takes money, and they do not want to cut them. Some of them have been cut. But there is no such thing as free money, and the private capital comes with a cost. If a private equity firm can create a win-win scenario where it invests, fine. But if not, it will create a win for itself first and foremost. Even if the league succeeds in crafting an arrangement that does not cede any of its major functions to an outside firm, the new partner in the Big Ten enterprises would theoretically have a lot to say about how business is done. Again, according to the reports, they would not have the decision-making. Private capital, it would still belong with the Big Ten presidents. Private capital is just one slice of 20. Also, again, I'm just going to point this out. Pat Forday, he's talking about, the Big Ten, they better not cede any of its major functions, any of its major decision-making to an outside firm. But did Pat Forday write anything about Cody Campbell's idea of ceding all decision-makings of the schools and conferences to a government body entity? In Cody Campbell's plan, no college football reporter has said one word of it, and I said they wouldn't at the time. But yet, everybody's now going, oh my God, is the Big Ten going to give up any decision-making to this private capital company? Sorry, guys, but the hypocrisy, it's unsufferable right now. The conference already has one very influential hands-on partner in that regard in Fox. Don't think the network wasn't fully involved in the expansion decisions that destroyed the Pac-12. If the next partner wants to tell the Big Ten members what it has to change in order to make more money, there are a couple of billion reasons why everyone would have to go along with it. The Southeastern Conference Commissioner, Greg Sankey, has been publicly wary of private equity capital for quite a while. Greg Sankey is too wise to even venture into this. Now, Greg Sankey has been talking to Goldman Sachs. Greg Sankey's got international deals lined up, but we won't talk about that. The Big 12 looked into it at the behest of Commissioner Brett Yormark, but too many league members balked at the concept. Did they balk at the concept? Or were there too many league members that think there may be a better deal down the road. On the campus level, Florida State's interest in a private equity arrangement has cooled. Still, many in college sports space believe the arrival of private equity capital is inevitable and actually sensible. Really? Many in the college sports space believe that it's coming and it's sensible? But if the Big Ten thinks it's sensible, well, that's just a terrible idea. One of the draws for those firms are inefficient markets, and a lot of people are certain that the college sports is leaving a ton of money at the table at a time when it needs the funds. There are probably more answers or more strategies than a lot of people are willing to actually use, says Jake Rosenberg of the Athlete Group, which is partly a bouquet search firm and partly a consulting business that can help athletic departments make more and spend less. People just want to chalk everything up to mass chaos and put their head between their own knees and assume crass position. I think our premise business-wise is that there actually are still a lot of ways to be smarter and be more strategic than you get paid back disproportionately because things are so inefficient. There is so much change in college. I think we have the best chance to understand what these roles should look like because we're doing actually the work and we're on the ground. And I think those of us that have experience in professional ranks doesn't translate exactly, but there are a lot of qualities about professional sports that are more a part of college sports now. There's a lot of private equity, private capital money flowing into sports franchises, right? Sports leagues, right? We've all seen it. In case of the Big Ten, which already has the biggest media rights revenue oil gusher of them all, this feels like another everything is for sale sign on the office front door. Does it really need to be? Or are there ways for each individual university to make decisions on their finances that align with what they stand for? When Facilities Arm Race met with the House settlement, the wanton economics of college sports reached its ultimate stress test. Trev Alberts, former athletic director at Nebraska, now at Texas A&M, might have characterized the situation best. We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. Borrowing billions of dollars doesn't seem like the best way to fix a spending program. Again, is this idea really borrowing billions of dollars? Is it? Is the Big Ten really borrowing billions of dollars? Or is it getting a cash infusion of billions of dollars and given a slice of the owners, basically a slice of future earnings to this capital firm? Thank you, Bill G. Thank you so very much. Wow. Bill G just gifted 5 gifted memberships. John Grove, Skaven, yes. Scott Grable, Go Huskies, and RT. All of you have been gifted a membership by the great Bill G. Bill G does it again. All of you are officially knighted, cloak and dagger, family members of the PATC. You can go to our library of episodes, watch all of them. And when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Bill G. Bill G, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go through your comments. I got a lot more to say on this, but I want to go to your comments a little bit. Prodded on this thing. Again, I do not know if I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of the attempt, right? I'm in favor of the effort, but I don't know if I would vote yes on this. I'm going to need more details. I know there are schools in the Big Ten that need the cash. And there probably are schools in the Big Ten that believes in private equity. They believe that a strategic partner would help them in creating a bigger, valuable conference down the road. There are many schools in the Big Ten, pretty much all of them, that want to squash any embers that are possibly still alive when it comes to any of these Super League ideas. If the Big Ten, if this actually happened, this action of the Big Ten would completely squash and eliminate any plans or ideas of a Super League, at least for the next 20 years. I think I don't think that has much of a chance of happening anyways. Because again, I don't think Michigan and Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia want anything to do with this Super League. Nothing. Why would they? The question is, does the Buckeyes in Michigan have do they want to do this with their own conference mates? They may not want it. There might not be a deal here. This might not be just a leverage ploy. Michigan and Ohio State may not want to go to 2046 with the grant of rights. Maybe they want to be more flexible for the next 20 years. They'll be able to use that leverage in future years. Maybe they're not a real believer in these three presentations. Maybe they're okay with some of this concept, but they're just not buying these three presentations. Or maybe it is a leverage play. Maybe Michigan and Ohio State are looking at their slice and saying, that doesn't work for us, brother. We need a little bit more. And what about the Big Ten expansion? What does the Big Ten expansion look like in the next couple of years if this would happen to pass? I have an opinion on it. A lot of you are going to disagree with me, but this is one of the things that I learned last night. Kayla Ramirez, thank you for becoming an early peak member for 21 months. I very much appreciate it. You are hereby knighted cloak and dagger. 21 months. Kayla Ramirez, thank you so very much. Do you know who the three companies are yet? And could it be a streaming site? They're also coming in as a media partner too. I do not know. I asked the question and people honestly are saying they do not know. I had a guest on the live show yesterday. I guessed one of them was the Skydance Global Paramount Company, CBS, whatever private equity, Redbird Capital, that private equity firm that's involved in that whole establishment, that company, Redbird Capital, that is one guess. My other guess would be some private capital firm that is heavily tied in with Amazon. My third guess would be some private international private equity firm that is promising the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, conference level support, expertise in pushing their brand, make it more valuable, get new international sponsorship, have all those international events, things of that nature. So it's some international private equity, something tied with Amazon or Netflix, some big streaming giant, and global Paramount, global Skydance. Those are my three guesses. I could be 0 for 3. I'm probably 0 for 3. Again, though, just to be, I'm going to say this. I said it. Look, we've been having these shows. We've been having these shows, guys. We started having these shows late last year. The invasion of private equity. Because we were told like a bunch of stuff, and I try to deliver the information in the best way that I could. We were out in front talking about the Big 12 activity. I tell you guys, I'm going to go ahead and say this now. There's a lot of talk. We just had a show. There's coordination going on between North Carolina and Clemson, Virginia. We go into the Holy Smokes Theater. The SEC wants to expand. The Big Ten wants to expand. But there is still that element out there of an ACC, reimagined, contracted ACC that takes this private capital money and forms a different conference. A football-only conference. That's why they put that in that settlement, that they could form a football-only conference, 6 or more members. All that is still out there. There are universities and bundles of universities that keep talking to these private capital firms. Remember that that phone call that Ross Denlinger talked about, how some ACC and some Big 12 schools were in on that phone call with private capital. What was that? Redbird Capital? I think that was Redbird Capital, right? There are talks everywhere. And right now, the Big Ten has socialized this idea to a certain point where it's being reported that there's probably going to be a decision in the next few weeks. And if they can't get Michigan and Ohio State on board, it ain't going to happen. But this is going on everywhere. But it got leaked at the Big Ten. It got leaked. It got leaked by ESPN. I wonder why. But anyways, right? But the Big 12 did the same thing. And they couldn't quite get it done. And the Big Ten might not be able to get it done. To get 16 institutions on board with anything. It's very difficult to get 18 institutions on board with anything. It took the Southeastern Conference years to get everybody to get the votes to say, okay, we're going to 9 conference games. Especially when you're dealing, and Ryan Thomas says it very well here. Ryan Thomas, Super Chat, big decision that requires big considerations. This is a big decision. And this decision will last into 2046. So Michigan and Ohio State, they better get a big enough piece of that, slice of that pie. Or they got to figure out a way where they keep more of what they kill or whatever. But then again, the Big Ten's going to go in the next meeting negotiations. Okay, but let me bring up this point. Ryan Thomas, Ryan Willie, and Jeff Olson will use Badger Capital to undermine the Gophers. As I said last night, if Michigan and Ohio State and the Nittany Lions and the Oregon Ducks and the USC Trojans Throw a couple more schools in there. If they want 5.684% of the slice, and the Gophers have to go to 4.72% of the whatever, all right, I'm good with that. As the representative of the Golden Gophers, I will okay that. But if Minnesota's slice, Ryan Thomas, is 4.72% of the entire pie, and Wisconsin is 4.73, we don't got a deal. We do not got a deal. Minnesota vetoes the deal. Okay. Now when it comes, okay, so we don't know all the details, right? Again, thank you for the super chat and for the memberships. If you do send a super chat, we'll get to your comment as soon as possible. Don't get involved with the evil Badger Capital. Thank you, Ryan Thomas. I agree. I absolutely agree. It better not be a cheese-induced cash infusion. If this sort of deal did happen, my question was last night when I talked to BTM and a few other people, one person chatted behind the curtain media type. My question is, what would this do to the Big Ten's expansion plans? Because the Big Ten is expecting to expand the conference for a number of reasons, not just one reason. There are demographic reasons. They want unique markets. They want the student apocalypse. They want more content. They probably want a streaming partner coming on. They've got lots of reasons why they want to expand. Same thing with the Southeastern Conference. Big 12 has their own incentives to expand. But what if this happened? Let's say it did happen, and I think it's not the chalk that this is actually going to happen. But let's say it did. What would that do to the Big Ten expansion plans? The answer I got was, and again, this goes against some reporting of last night, some speculation of last night from national reporters. I don't think it changes a lick. The people I talked to don't think this would slow down expansion. They don't know quite how it would work, but they don't think it would. No, Moen is not Big Ten man. Big Ten man has been. Big Ten man has been helping me break stories across the college sports world since 2014. Well before the USC story. We broke the Big Ten Notre Dame hockey story. We've broken a lot of stories. Big Ten, I've only known Moen for a couple of years. So no, Moen is not Big Ten man. But I want to go back to what Mark Coyle said. Remember a couple of weeks ago? Big Ten expansion. Now, Mark Coyle knows, obviously, about this potential private capital plan that's been going on for months, right? He knows it could happen. But yet, he said he expects the Big Ten to expand at some point, right? He talked about our friends at Oregon and Washington wanted so badly to be in the Big Ten, they're getting half the media revenue. I mean, think about that. Then Coyle said, I think Minnesota is very well positioned. We are a charter member of the Big Ten. And I did talk to Moen about this. And Moen will back me up. When this came out, I talked to Moen and I told him that I have somebody telling me why the reason why Coyle said this is because there's going to be a different tier payouts in the Big Ten, and that Minnesota, because it's a charter member, will not be at the bottom tier. I did not spend much time talking about that on the live show, but That is what people at Minnesota believe. That there's going to be different tiers, and Minnesota ain't going to be at the bottom because it's a charter member. We'll see if that happens. We'll see. We're going to find out, because even if this, guys and gals, even if this doesn't happen, this private capital deal, the next media rights that the Big Ten does, it's going to have different tier payouts. The Buckeyes are going to make more money than the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They already make more money anyways, but a little bit more money on the media. So we're going to find out anyways. And Coyle said, whether it's 2 days or 2 years, I do think there's going to be continued fluctuation, because we are in this South Settlement era for 2 months. I can tell you peers in the Big Ten are trying to find revenue, right? What are the peers in the other conferences trying to do right now? We have the best media deals in the country, so there's going to be more movement. So Coyle, of course, knew about this potential private capital deal that may or may not happen. He knows there's going to be different tiers of payouts. He also is a firm believer that whether it's 2 days from now or 2 years from now, the Big Ten is going to expand. There's going to be more fluctuation. So I asked the question, number one, I asked the question last night, would this impede, would this accelerate? If this would happen, what would happen with Big Ten expansion plans? The answer I got back was a little bit different, a lot different, than speculation of national reporters last night. The answer I got back was this would probably make Big Ten expansion much, much easier, not more difficult, for a few different reasons. One, the speculation, and I'm going to call it speculation, the speculation is that every number, so when you're talking about the 18 Big Ten universities, they're varying, there's a variety of different numbers associated to each one of these universities, what cash infusion they would get, and what type of value they are to the conference. It's not gonna be adjustable. It ain't gonna be like 1 year it's gonna be a little less, a little bit more based upon viewership number, based upon what platforms your games were on. No, it's gonna be pretty permanent for now. There's gonna be a number attached to each of the 18 schools. Then it's being speculated by the people that I talk with. They could be absolutely dead wrong, but they're not usually dead wrong. They're saying there's going to be a PC number attached to each one of these universities. In other words, Minnesota, I won't use Minnesota, but let's use Indiana. There's going to be a certain number associated with Indiana on the cash infusion and the value, the percentage slice they get within the entire conference. That number then also is going to have a PC number attached to it, a private capital number. The private capital basically is going to be taking 5% of that Indiana number, and it's going to be the private capital number, right? So if you bring a school in, let's say it's Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is going to be given a number. It may be similar to Indiana. It may be lower than Indiana. Let's say it's a little bit lower than Indiana. Let's say the Big Ten is willing to do this. Whatever that number is, there's going to be a PC number attached to it. And that's the number that the PC is willing to give Georgia Tech as a one-time cash infusion. But then for the next 20 years, 18 years, 17 years, whenever Georgia Tech signs on, this is speculation, that a little bit of that number goes to the PC, right? So basically what is being speculated is if the Big Ten's going to expand, if they're in discussions with some Big Ten expansion candidates, these candidates are going to know what their valuation is, what their cash infusion is going to be, because they're going to get it too. But then over the next 17, 18, 19, 20 years, depending on what they come in, right, there's going to be a little bit of that money that goes to the private capital firm. The value of the value of that school, just a touch of it goes to the private capital firm. So Georgia Tech comes in, and they're expected to get, we'll just make it easy. The number could be way off, but Georgia Tech is expected to make $2 million a year because of the John Deere logo on their football jersey. Just like the John Deere logo is on the Minnesota jersey and the Iowa jersey. And Georgia Tech gets $2 million a year. Well, the private capital is expected to get 5% of that $2 million. Basically, the school that is coming on in doesn't have to carry the valuation of a Michigan, Ohio State, and Nittany Lion, a USC in Oregon. Doesn't have to carry that high level of valuation to still be a value add to the conference. Doesn't have to do that because it ain't going to get paid like the highest valuations of the conference. But like a Georgia Tech, I'm just using Georgia Tech. A Georgia Tech would add value in many different tangible ways, right? Big market, Atlanta, new advertisers, demographics, going in the South, recruiting, great research university, all these other add-ons that Georgia Tech would add. If you don't want to use Georgia Tech as an example, use Miami as an example. Use North Carolina as an example. Use Florida State as an example. Some of these schools would get a higher valuation. Maybe they would go all the way to the top. But as it was explained to me last night, and again, it's more speculation, because we don't know the entire deal here, that it's going to make it easier for the Big Ten to expand, make it easier for them to pull a quicker trigger if this would happen to pass. And it's also speculated on by people that I talked to that the private capital, this firm, in their presentation, no doubt knows that the Big Ten is going to expand. It's got to be built into the presentation. And this is what we can do to help you expand the conference. That has to be part of it as well. So, people that I talk to, are they wrong? Do you think they're wrong? Do you think it stops conference expansion? I go back to Mark Coyle, what he said. I go back to Tim Smith, what Maryland said, the athletic director of Maryland. These guys, these cautious guys, especially Mark Coyle, coming out and saying, yeah, we're going to expand. It's going to happen pretty quickly. Well, at the same time, they're in this private capital meetings. I think that's what they're all looking at. I think expansion is baked in. I think so. Holy smokes. Look at the super chat. Wow. Wow. Cope, I do apologize. I know you've been in the chat before, and I think I mispronounced your handle. I do apologize, sir or ma'am. I think it's a sir. Cop. I'm going to call you Cop. Let me know how do I phonetically say it. And again, I can't really talk cop, so if I get your name wrong, I do apologize. Super chat. Not a crazy idea. Both Big Ten and SEC work in tandem to have 28 members per league. This would be in 4 divisions of 7 with 3 permanent rivals. All other foes played in 6-6 rotation. Thusly, teams are played in a 4-year cycle. Also, a 20-team college football fits that. Thank you for the unbelievable super chat. I have not heard of that idea. I am not a breakaway guy. I don't want a breakaway. I am not in favor of a breakaway. I'm not in favor of DEFCON 1 at all. We are at DEFCON 2 right now, though. Tell you that. We are in DEFCON 2, but we're not in DEFCON 1. But I'm wondering if anybody else agrees with Cop here, about the Big Ten SEC working in tandem. 28 members per league. I guess that would be the Super League then, right? That would be the Super League. 4 divisions of 7. That would be difficult to do because it's easier to have an equal number of teams in a division. You don't necessarily need that. But thank you so much for the super chat, Cope. I appreciate it. Again, the SEC has monster ideas out there. They're working on monster ideas. They just signed a streaming deal, international streaming deal. The SEC is going to expand. They're going international. They want a more diverse student population, and they're going to succeed in getting that done. And it ain't going to be just about football brands. It might be about football brands, but it ain't going to be just about football brands. That's why they're looking at North Carolina and Virginia. Because schools like Missouri, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, they would love to have North Carolina and Virginia be part of the SEC country. Not a secret to anybody in the Southeastern Conference. All their presidents have said the same thing to reporters, officially and non-officially, off the record and on the record. Thank you, Cope. I appreciate the incredible generosity, sir. Thank you for coming on in, supporting this program like you do. Thank you so very much. I haven't seen you in a while. Where have you been, Cope? Where have you been? But thank you so very kindly, sir. Finally Tuned says, Cope, stop trying to make sense. Thank you, Cope. I hope I'm saying your name correct. If I'm not, I apologize. I'm just going to call you Cope. I call a lot of people the wrong names in the PATC family. People don't seem too offended by it because everybody knows that I'm not able to articulate. I'm the fat guy from Minnesota, my northern Minnesota accent. But yeah, the Big Ten is looking to expand. The Southeastern Conference is looking to expand. And they all want a strategic partnership. In fact, I said that the Big 12 wanted a strategic partnership. And then about 4 days later, there was a report from Brett Yormark. We're looking at strategic partnership. They use the exact same phrase that we use. They're all looking for that. They're looking for that expertise. They're looking for the new sponsorship, new revenue. There's examples all over the sports world that this is happening. I'm not smart enough to know, we know that there has been private equity deals that has been horrific for the companies that have taken it on. But there are a lot of examples of how it has grown that business. especially in the sports world. What the private capital, private equity firm is looking at is, we believe that this entity is undervalued. So we want to invest in it, and we know with our help, our guidance, our connections, our expertise, that we're going to make everybody more money, including ourselves. Including ourselves. I think there are two major risks. Two major risks for Ohio State and Michigan to agree on this deal. There are two major risks. This is not about selling off their athletic department. This is not about the Buckeyes in Michigan owing money. That is not part of this deal. But there are potentially two downsizes to this deal. Number two is the bigger one. Number one, the Buckeyes and the Wolverines have to make sure that they do not lose their autonomy. Michigan's got to make sure that, okay, we'll bundle in with the other schools in the Big Ten when it comes to jersey patch, on-field advertising, this and that. But Michigan, we've got our own local deals going on here. We've got our own Learfield deal. We've got our own signage deal. We've got our own radio show deal. We've got a lot of deals that are Michigan. Same thing with the Buckeyes. And this gives us a whole lot of money. And we're not sharing those enterprises. We're not sharing those intellectual properties. We're not sharing that with everybody else. That is ours. We make lots of money on it. This is why our athletic departments are worth so much more money than the other athletic departments. We want our autonomy. We want our autonomy here. We'll go in on some, but we don't want to, we can't. I think that's number one downside for Michigan and Ohio State to sign on this deal. They want to keep their autonomy, and they should, to a certain degree, absolutely. Number two, and I think this is a big one. Is what if a better deal comes along? What if a better deal? Because I got a feeling that this particular deal, where the private capital deal, where they get one slice of the 20-piece slice, although that slice might be a little bit bigger than 5%. We don't know the details. That's probably the best deal that they've ever gotten. The deals are probably getting better. What if they miss out on a better deal? This extends the grant of rights to 2046. What if the Big Ten does sign on this deal? What if the Buckeyes and the Michigan Wolverines say, okay, we're going to sign off and we like our 6.87% slice. We like, the cash infusion. We like the potential partnership. We like that this strategic partner might be able to bring on larger revenue streams. But what if they sign on this deal? And here comes the Southeastern Conference. They look at that deal that the Big Ten just signed. They've got the details, and the Southeastern Conference is telling Goldman Sachs, find us a better deal than what the Big Ten just signed. Find us more money, less where we have to give up, more autonomy to it, whatever. Get us a better deal than the Big Ten, and don't have our grant of rights go down all the way to 2046 or whatever. Make it more flexible, make it better, make it more money, and then they go one up on the Big Ten. What if patience is the play here? I think that is a huge downside, potential downside to the Buckeyes in Michigan. who again, who again, from Ann Arbor and Columbus, they've got their telescopes out, pyroscopes out, and they're looking through, and they're looking at Birmingham, Alabama. They're looking through, and they're looking at Athens, Georgia. They're making sure that the market share, they've got the same advantages, the same growth opportunity, the same revenue, and the same autonomy that those schools, the top schools in the Southeastern Conference. So that is why I think it's hard to pull the trigger. And it's one of those reasons I was told that the Big 12, because the Big 12, they're like, I think we might be able to get a better deal down the road, so we're going to say no at this point. Some of the schools said no at this point. Okay, we are going to open up the phone lines. Open up the phone lines. Again, I did not give a whole lot of time yesterday on the phones because it was breaking news during our program. So let's get it going here. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. What do you think the details are on this potential deal? What do you think we're missing? What did I miss in my argument either way?
Call from
Rick.
Rick is on the line. Thank you for the phone call, Rick. I do appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Well, you did a really nice job, I think, with the Pat 40 article to do what he failed to do and what most poor writers fail to do, and that's compare and contrast. And you did that as you went through the article, and he intentionally failed to do that because he knows exactly what's going on. On the private equity, you got to keep in mind also that there's nothing stopping the Big Ten from forming something that would allow 16 of the 18 schools to sign up for this private equity deal and omit Ohio State and Michigan. And I say that because any school can do it on their own. If Maryland wanted to go out and form a private equity deal with whomever and put Kuwait Airlines logo on their uniform, they can do that because they own the Maryland Terrapin uniform.
The problem with that, though, is the cash infusion would be a lot less. Everything would be the deal would not be as good. And you know, one of the things that the private capital firm is probably demanding is that you've got to extend your grant of rights to 2046 for us to do the deal. Without Michigan and Ohio State on board, you're not going to be able to get that grant of rights extended. So therefore, I don't even know if the deal would still be there. If it was, it would be a lot less value for all the other schools involved. So that's my take on it.
It would be. I couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. But again, there's nothing stopping any school from doing this individually without any consideration whatsoever of the grant of rights. Mm-hmm. And if one can do it, 5 can do it together, and 16 of the 18 can do it together. Mm-hmm. So that they're all wearing the Kuwait Airlines logo on their uniform. And then Michigan can go out and get the American Airlines logo, and Ohio State can go out and get the Southwest Airlines logo and strike their own deal.
Yeah.
So all of these things are possible.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that you can't rule out any of these possibilities for cash infusion, either at a individual or group, albeit not 100% of the group, could be 90% of it or 95%. And that may be enough for the right private equity firm to say, oh yeah, well we're the majority of the Big Ten, flies Kuwait Airlines or whatever.
The more I think about this, it's this type of deal is an incredibly complicated deal, right? That's why the talks have been going on for months.
Very complicated.
Yeah, because is this going to be part of it? Is that going to be part of it? And then you've got three firms presenting their different packages, so you got to figure out which one's really most valuable. There may be I'm going to try to be sensitive here, but there may be a plan that's presented by that's associated with like a Saudi Arabia that maybe in Michigan, maybe some other university ain't comfortable with. I don't know, but it's a lot of complications. The talks have been going on for months. It does sound like we're at the end game. It's either let's do it or not do it, and the decision's going to come in the next couple of weeks.
And I don't see why they couldn't, if they wanted to, because they've got three different, as we know it, firms that are battling each other to land this deal. Mm-hmm. Play them against one another and say, no, there's no grant of right extension. It ends in 36, or the year it ends, and that we're not going any further. Mm-hmm. We'll discuss that 37 or in the summer of 35. Take it or leave it. So now, what's your best deal with a 36 ending on the grant of rights?
Yeah.
Just because you want us to go to 46 doesn't mean we want to, or
Mm-hmm.
there can be a deal. So there's just tons of room for negotiation.
Yeah, there is, and it probably, yeah.
The only other thing I would say is, we got to really be careful with the term Super League, because people throw the term around Super League. Sometimes it's the Rudy League that is synonymous with the Super League, and then there are other variations, like the gentleman who made the super chat, who has his own idea of what a Super League is.
No.
And in reality, the Big Ten could create their own Super League. What I mentioned before, mm-hmm. months ago, about a major league versus minor league college football. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for the update, though.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Great call. Jimmy Austin, can we please not have an equity deal with the Kuwait Airlines ends up on anyone's uniform? Well, let me tell you something, Jimmy. All uniform ideas, all, how do I say this? All, corporations, sponsorships,
Call from
Evil Badger.
Evil Badger, can you hold on for a moment, please?
Yes.
I apologize, sir. I do apologize. First of all, before I get to Jimmy's comment again, I gotta clean something up. Everybody, give me a moment. Please give me a moment. I do apologize. Evil Badger, I apologize. Give me a moment, sir. You know I'm a golden gopher. You know I'm not the brightest bulb in the refrigerator. I just know where every refrigerator is in every building I go into. Hold on one second.
It's okay,
please.
Greg.
Huh?
It's okay, Greg.
Thanks, buddy. Hold on. So here's the thing, Jimmy. Those decisions on the uniform should be based entirely on, does the logo of the company look good on a maroon and gold uniform. All right? Maroon and gold. Does it look good on maroon and gold? We don't care about Wisconsin red. We don't care about your Oregon Ducks color of green and yellow. We do not care about the Northwestern Wildcats purple. We care about the maroon and gold. If the logo looks good on the maroon and gold, it's a done deal. It's a done deal, baby. It's a done deal. I think Jimmy's going to agree with me on that. I think he is going to agree with me on that. Grateful Trojan, we're all going to be pissed if our team jerseys end up looking like the Premier League. No amount of money is worth that. Ryan Willie, the floor is yours. Thank you for your patience, sir. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ray, for taking my call. I wrote a super chat a little bit ago, and it's kind of the reason I called. I personally don't think that because of what happened with the ACC and the 20-year grant of rights, I hope that the Big Ten doesn't go with the 20-year grant of rights deal. They got to be able to negotiate.
Let me. First of all, let me spotlight your comment here. Super chat, Ryan Willie. Thank you for your generosity, Ryan. I appreciate it. Greg,
You're welcome.
in my opinion, I wouldn't want a 20-year grant of rights. Of course, Bucky deserves more than Goldie. I don't like unequal revenue shares. Now, before we get into this, Ryan, we got to clear something up here. Extending it 20 years to 2046, yeah, that's probably a difficult thing for some universities to do that, who have a lot more power and want more flexibility. But the grant of rights is separate than the media rights of the Big Ten. In other words, the ACC, when they extended the grant of rights, that was attached to the media rights, and where the schools, the ESPN would not have another media rights negotiation with the ACC until 2036. In the Big Ten, it's different. Currently, the Big Ten's current media rights package, distribution contracts with Fox, CBS, NBC, Peacock are until 2030. The current grant of rights is to 2036. So they're already on a different timetable. This change, if this would happen, the grant of rights would go from 2036 to 2046, but the next media rights still are at 2030. So we're going to have negotiations on a new media rights package in 2030. So just to keep that in mind. The grant of rights basically says in the Big Ten, we have your ownership of your media rights to 2036. We're going to extend them we're going to try to extend them to 2046. And Michigan, Ohio State, and maybe there's a couple other schools are saying, I don't know if we want to do that. But again, it's different than the ACC in that the Big Ten is going in the next round of media rights negotiations in 2030, regardless if the grant of rights gets moved from 36 to 46. Okay, go ahead, Ryan Willie.
Okay, so I have a question. If they do this deal, could, let's say, the University of Wisconsin use that money, some of that money to buy out this contract?
That was great. I should have saw that coming. I did not see that coming.
Well,
Yes. Yes.
Well, there's just a lot of frustration around Wisconsin right now.
Yes, that's the Luke Fickell Fund. Yes, Wisconsin can take $20 million of that and give it to Luke Fickell. Take another $20 million and get the new coach. And yes, that solves that issue for Wisconsin. That's why Wisconsin is 100% for this deal. Absolutely. Beautiful, Ryan Willie. Beautiful.
And do you think that one last thing? Do you think that Wisconsin can keep it close against Michigan? Because it's 17. It's a 17-point spread right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not making any wager. Not making any wager. I just want to know if you think they can keep somewhat close.
They can keep it close if Wisconsin's Badgers defense doesn't give up the long run. If they keep everything in front of them, if they say Michigan, you're going to have to do a 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 play drive, then I think Wisconsin can keep it close. But you cannot have Michigan be on Wisconsin's 48-yard line and then have a 48-yard touchdown run. You can't have those plays like they did against Nebraska, because Michigan is going to score at least 7 to 10 points because of their defense. In other words, they're going to get a turnover. They're going to give their offense a short field. They're going to sack your quarterback. It's going to be a strip sack. Michigan's going to score 7 to 10 points on the defense. You cannot let them have those big rushing touchdowns. If they keep that to a bare minimum, Wisconsin can keep it relatively close. That's my thoughts on it.
Thanks for taking my call, Greg.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Great call, Ryan.
All right, bye.
Great call. Absolutely brilliant call. Yes. The first thing that Ryan Willie thought of when he heard about the potential private capital deal for Wisconsin Badgers, let's buy out Luke Fickell. Brilliant call. Brilliant call. Leave it be, Greg. Leave it be, Jay. Go Blue. Michigan Wolverines. Wisconsin is cooked on Saturday. That is a wrap. Does Fickell get fired after Michigan destroys Wisconsin is the question. Again, we've got Luke Fickell, number 5 on our hot seat watch, headed into week 6. Napier, Dilfor, Moorhead, Taylor, Fickell, and Mark Stoops.
Call from
Necromancer Pinball.
Mr. Pinball, I appreciate you calling, sir. The floor is yours. I haven't heard from you in a while. Thanks for calling, man.
Yes, sir. I just want you to know I'm always out here watching and waiting to see what's next at PATC.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. What's on your mind, sir?
Got a couple things in my head I need you to help me sort out.
Got it.
Can we do that?
Well, I might not be able to. I might screw you up even more. So.
Well, I'll take that. At least it keeps it fresh up there. That's what I'm looking for. Keep the meat turning over.
Yeah.
Number one, Notre Dame with 2 losses. I think last summer we decided that a 4-loss Notre Dame team has a real problem getting in the playoffs. Do they have 2 more losses coming?
Does Notre Dame have 2 more losses coming?
Yeah, because they got a few rivalry games coming, right?
Let's check the schedule here. Are you an Irish fan? I don't want to offend you. Are you an Irish fan?
I am. I was a young Catholic boy, played high school football, so yeah. But well, I didn't end up going to Notre Dame or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was as well, and but my mother, who's a 92-year-old Irish Catholic woman, doesn't like Notre Dame for whatever reason. So
Well, there you go.
yeah, but anyways, see, I really liked Notre Dame's team last year. Even when they lost to Northern Illinois, I said I still think they got a shot to go to the playoffs. I really like their team this year. I really like how C.J. Carr is playing. He is not the problem. He's part of the solution. It's that defense that's got to get better. But that offense, I think they can go to the playoffs at 2 losses. Boise State, North Carolina State, the USC game, Boston College, Navy, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Stanford. I think they can run the rest of the games, and I think they can beat USC. I don't see why they would not beat USC. I saw USC's defense against Illinois, and they lost every point of contact in that. Every time an Illinois offensive player hit a USC defensive player, the Illinois guy won that point of contact. USC is incredibly talented on offense. Unbelievably talented on offense. That is going to be a 50-50 ball game going in the last couple of minutes. That's my prediction on that game. Notre Dame has a shot to get to the playoffs. That is my take on it.
All right, because I'm looking at what Syracuse has kind of shown here and there, and I'm wondering how big a game that could end up being this year.
What game?
The Syracuse game.
Well, they don't have Angeli, the former Notre Dame quarterback anymore.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
True.
if he was the quarterback, Syracuse just got pounded by Duke 38-3. I don't think Syracuse. I think they lost a lot when they lost their quarterback, and he's out for the year. So,
it is for the year?
I think so, isn't it? People in the chat room, let me know if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought he was out.
I wasn't sure if he was out or so. Okay, that's great. Okay. All right, part 2. With this whole private equity stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
In the NFL, the teams do not have unequal revenue sharing. Everybody shares revenue, but certain revenue they get to keep for their own.
Yeah, they keep the media revenue, but all the other stuff they do not share. Yep.
Correct. So when the Big Ten and these guys talk about their sharing unequal revenue, is it the same situation where the playing field remains level, but certain teams with bigger brands earn more on their marketing? Or is it literally getting more than you are?
It's literally the media money. Yep. So it's a big different step. Absolutely. Yes.
So then if you sign that agreement, you're basically saying, I agree to be worse than you forever.
I agree to get less media money than you for the next whatever years the contract is. Yep. And so it gets harder. So Minnesota has this huge disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
Between Minnesota and Ohio State. And you're going to see that. And you're going to be a witness to that this Saturday night on NBC, right? So now the gap is going to even grow bigger, right?
Right.
But I think so let me take it from a Minnesota point of view.
Sure.
I think from a Minnesota point of view, it's like, well, it's not a zero-sum game, okay? If we do this deal, the Buckeyes are going to make even a little bit more money than us. But if we do this deal, if that partner is the correct partner, if there's more than just that cash infusion, if we make more money because of this relationship than without this relationship for the next 20 years, then it's best for us to do this deal. If Minnesota is comparing themselves to other peers outside of their conference, in other words, Minnesota versus Iowa State, Minnesota versus Oklahoma State, Minnesota versus Kansas State, Minnesota versus Boston College, Minnesota versus Syracuse. Are we in a better position than those schools? Are we making more money, more valuable, blah, 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 more exposure? I think about 80 years ago, Minnesota just gave up on any thoughts of keeping up with the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. it's very difficult to beat those schools anyways.
No,
It does.
I understand, but
Yeah.
it's happened. My point is that the Big 12 went through this with Oklahoma and Texas.
Absolutely, yes.
And to be absolutely honest, I feel like that agreement set the Big 12 back years in the development of those other teams being able to raise themselves above being regional brands, right? And we're still recovering from it. I don't understand how counting the lowest teams, I mean, basically the teams in the Big Ten that get the least are going to end up being even with the Big 12 or whatever.
Yeah, I see. I don't think that. Okay, so that's great point.
I'm going.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. My main issue with the ACC unequal revenue sharing is some of those ACC schools are going to be making a little bit less than the Big 12. And sure enough, when the Virginia Tech showed those documents, it did show that there were going to be some ACC schools that were going to get a less of a conference payout from the ACC conference than the Big 12 schools from the Big 12 payouts. But I do not believe there's going to be any arithmetic, any type of slicing of the pie that would have any Big 10 school even close to making less than a Big 12 or ACC school.
Okay.
I don't think that's even, now maybe I'm completely wrong, but and if that's the case, these Big 10 schools will not be for it. I think there's a huge, I don't think that is going to be part of the equation. I could be wrong though.
I feel you. It seems to me though that for the Big 12 right now, and I know every conference situation is different, but having equal revenue is kind of doing the rising tide raises all ships kind of.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yep.
And it feels like whenever they go to this unequal revenue sharing, it does not. And I just wonder what's the long-term benefit to those 6 or 8 top brands in the 2 big leagues that are going to end up with the highest amount of revenue in an unequal revenue world. What is there in play? I mean, do they end up just being, we're just on top and that's the way the anthill runs or something?
Yeah, that's the way the anthill runs. More like more like Major League Baseball than NFL football. Yep.
Right, and and you can see where the viewership is on those. That's the only thing long term that runs.
No, I get it. A lot of people have your concern. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is my pleasure to talk to you again, sir. I look forward to talking again this football season. Thanks for all you do for us. I really think we got to get the PATC logo on the Big Ten shirt somehow.
Yeah.
We got to figure that out. It's got to happen.
Got it.
But we'll work on that.
You got it.
Thanks again,
I appreciate it, Mr. Pinball. Beautiful call, sir. Thank you much.
Talk to you again soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Great call. Brilliant call by Mr. Pinball. Market text. Is Minnesota going to score this weekend? PJ Fleck, in his press conference on Monday, said that he thought Washington did a very good job against Ohio State because going into the game, the Buckeyes were giving up 5.5 points a game, and Washington got 6 points. So, and PJ Fleck kind of laughed and will Minnesota score? Will Minnesota score a touchdown? Does Darius Taylor finally come back to play RB1 for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. He's been out weeks with another hamstring pull, just like what happened in 24, just like what happened in 23. Drake Lindsey, the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The best Golden Gopher quarterback I have seen in my lifetime, and it's only been 4 games. It's only been 4 games that he's played. Drake Lindsey, PFF, number 2 graded quarterback in the nation. 4 games into his redshirt freshman season. You've got Jalen Smith, the redshirt freshman wide receiver out of Mankato, Minnesota, averaging 22 yards per catch. Drake Lindsey, bomb. You've got Lemenke Brockington having his best season by far. You have Javon Tracy, the transfer wide receiver. Oh, there's weapons out there. Those are weapons out there. Now, Drake Lindsey, as great as an arm he has, and he has an NFL arm, he's a statue back there. He's an absolute statue back there. And if Caden Curry, Styles, look, Drake Lindsey's going to get sacked 8 times. The Gophers are going to give up the ball 3 times. The Gophers are going to miss a 52-yard field goal, and it's not even going to be close. So the question is, are the Gophers going to score against the Ohio State Buckeyes? Let me ask you this. Let me say it this way. The Minnesota Golden Gophers brought the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten in 1919. And in 2025, we're going to take you straight out. The Gophers do score on the Buckeyes. They do score on the Buckeyes. It's going to be Minnesota 10, the Ohio State Buckeyes 66. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Yes, the Gophers are going to score more than the average, 5.5 points. Book it. Book it. Book it. Absolutely. 66-10. It's happening. The Gophers are going to score. Drake Lindsey. Bomb! The Jalen Smith. 65-yard bomb out at the Buckeyes 3-yard line. 4th and goal at the Buckeyes 1-yard line. Drake Lindsey, play action. Rolling right. Dumps it off to Javon Tracy at the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Gophers. Against the Buckeyes' third string defense with 4 minutes to go in the game. The Gophers do score a touchdown. Ladies and gentlemen, book it. Absolutely book it. That's what's going to happen. All right, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I do appreciate it. Appreciate the incredible super chat by Cope. Wow. Ryan Willie, Ryan Thomas, thank you guys so very much. Caleb Ramirez and Bill G, thank you for your gifted memberships. I want to thank the great phone calls. Again, we came on early. This was a PATC breakfast. You always got to keep your head on a swivel. You do not know when we're coming on live next. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done it yet, or if you've left us, left us but came back, please subscribe to our channel, smash the like button if you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. This is a national college football YouTube channel. We cover everything national. We give you the peek around the corner. We are the best there is in the business. Please subscribe, smash the like button, and open up those notifications. We came on early today. Who knows? We may have to come on late tonight. We may have to come on later tonight. You've known this. You know you got to keep your head on a swivel. There are times that we have to come on here, because things are fluid. Things are active in the college football world. We head on to week 6. Yesterday we made our picks against the spread. And this weekend we're going to be doing watch parties, Iowa State Cyclones and the Cincinnati Bearcats, and possibly others. We appreciate you all coming on in. Thank you, Expedition Greg, for your $2 holler. Thank you very much. Thank you, Still Austin. Thank you, Rod Nix. I appreciate it. Thank you. Give Mom our love from the Peach State. I will. Thank you, Rod Nix. Thank you, Al Woody. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,